And welcome to another edition of Let Freedom Ring. This week we were supposed to have Jesse Martineau on the show. Jesse had some things come up, so he is not here tonight. However, I do have the one, the only, Bobby Beaulieu. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know we're brothers. We don't really need to shake hands right now with everything going on. I think we're just a nod.
Yeah, I think so. I think at this point, it's been hammered into the ground that stay away.
Stay away, essentially, from each other. So, Bobby, we want to kind of get to know you. We have a lot to talk about, obviously. I honestly, I do think there's a lot of stuff that is historical really going on that we've never seen, and we're going to talk about that. But I want the audience to kind of get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
So, Bobby, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Nashua, New Hampshire, born and raised. That's technically where I still live. I'd still like to call myself from Nashua. I actually moved to Manchester, New Hampshire now. I don't identify as someone from Manchester, but New Hampshire is my home. So.
Okay, understandable. I know Nashua is a great city. I think I don't live there now anymore, but I think we're very proud to be from there. What is something everyone should know about you?
That's a good question. So in the primary in 2012, I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I remember.
My ballot was actually stolen in the primary.
Yes,
The Rich O'Keefe Project was trying to prove voter fraud in New Hampshire by saying that dead people were voting, which wasn't true. New Hampshire does remove the people who are deceased from the ballot. And so they went in, tried to find Robert Beaulieu, a deceased Robert Beaulieu, and ended up pulling my ballot, and that led to me going on Al Sharpton and talking to the Reverend. It's something I haven't been able to live down from some of my coworkers.
Yeah.
I did say thank you Sharpton to him. Funny.
Yep.
But for the next year and a half, everyone would say thank you Sharpton to me. So
I do recall that happening. I had watched the episode. Was it Tim that figured out that had happened? I think it was that. I remember him sending me something that someone was trying to, and I couldn't believe it. Like, it was him that figured it out.
Yeah, so
because it wasn't just Al Sharpton either.
No, I mean I went on that current show with
Keith Olbermann.
Yeah. Which that one was a little less stressful because like it's a joking atmosphere, but Al Sharpton, you're talking to the Reverend himself. So, but yeah, so Tim and me are both avid followers of politics. So.
Yep.
When Tim heard about the O'Keefe incident, he went and looked into the raw data, and that's where he found that they had my address. So From there, we reached out to a correspondent in D.C. who then reached out to me, and then before you know it, it took off. I got asked to go on Fox News, by the way, and I said no.
Well, I don't blame you. If I recall, though, if I remember the story right, he did actually have a deceased person's name, and to his credit almost, the I don't know what you call them, the volunteer gave him the rest of the information, if I remember the video correctly. What a wild time.
It is a wild time, especially if you go back to that time. Before then, you didn't need a voter ID to vote at the time.
Yep.
And that incident led to New Hampshire passing laws, even though when I found out about it, I was trying to say that you need to really hammer home to the people who work at the polls not to give information out.
Well, we want everybody to vote, right?
Right, and I think sometimes voter ID laws can prevent those who are actually allowed to vote from voting because not everyone has a driver's license or an ID in general.
I agree. That was a crazy time, and I do you think people should have an ID to vote at the polls?
Personally, no.
Okay.
I don't think that voter fraud is an issue.
Yep.
In the United States, and
Okay.
if you go look at the data, that will actually prove to you that voter fraud isn't an issue. But I hear both sides. Personally, I'd lean towards no, but that's where we're living in now, and now we have the real ID where you need it to fly anyways. So what's the harm, I guess, except for some areas in some states where it really hurts some voters.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. Now, we always like to ask on the show, what do you love most about being an American?
The New England Patriots.
Okay.
The New England Patriots are definitely the most thing I love about being American. Obviously, there's a lot of things about being an American that you can say, you know, freedom and all that, and that's true to a lot of countries. But I do love this country. I do love the ability to, you know, see all I can see, and I'm really thankful for those who, you know, defend us specifically.
I mean, we're wearing the
We are the Tough
shirts,
Rock,
right?
the armed
Yeah,
forces, and those who are in the service, police force, fire, EMTs. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to love about America that the New England Patriots is definitely the number one thing that I have to say.
I like that. I like that. And what does it mean to you to be American, if you were to say?
Stand up what you believe in, even
Okay.
if someone doesn't agree with you. Now, you don't want to overtly offend anyone and go extreme, but the fact that we can have dialogues and conversations and not be censored on those things, that's really important to be as an American. And I know that's true for many other countries, so I know that, you know, as you post this, wherever you post it on YouTube or something like that, you might hear in the comments, oh, you know, England has freedom too, but
Yeah.
it's a little different here. We're such a diverse country.
Yep.
What people think in New Hampshire is not the same that someone thinks in Arizona, yet we all come together as a nation.
I agree. Awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. Bobby, it's going to bring us to current events, and I really don't think, you know, on the show, about 2 weeks ago, we were already talking about the coronavirus. Now it's really like almost, you know, I honestly, I think things are going to be okay, but we're almost in, I'm trying to think what the movie is, but DEFCON 5, right? Like we're really just kind of like, what is going on? We've never seen really anything like this in our lifetime. I guess first of all, what's your take on the coronavirus? What do you think of the mass hysteria? I mean, we have a lot to touch on this. What do you think is kind of what's going on with that?
I think there's two types of groups. Either you're okay with the fact that we're slowing things down, which we are to prevent the spread, or you're someone who says, well, it's just like the flu, so it's not as big of a deal, and you throw out death stats that say, oh, well, more people have died from the flu this year than coronavirus, which, yeah, it is true in the grand scheme of things, but nothing has spread faster. And
percentage-wise, it's not true.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Percentage-wise, it's not true.
Yep.
I mean, but yeah. I mean,
but there's a higher number of confirmed cases of the flu than there are of coronavirus, but they're also not testing, right? Alabama right now technically doesn't have a confirmed case of coronavirus at the moment. I don't believe that.
I mean, we don't. The thing about the whole disease is we have no idea. We don't have. I mean, we're getting the testing kits out.
Yep.
Vice President Pence came up against the nation the other day and said that. We have no. The big thing about this disease, or a virus, I should say, is we just don't know much about it. Do you think the public it's going to cause fear? How do you think the public should be handling it, our day-to-day citizens?
I think we're handling it right now already.
How do you think we should be reacting, I guess?
I mean, personally, I'd work from home if I had the ability to. I wouldn't be going out in large areas. And it's not the fact that you're not going to get coronavirus and die if you're healthy and all that is what they say, but that isn't true really either, because we're seeing people from all ages die of this, and not all of them have been compromised immune systems. So I think it's being aware of it.
Yep.
And the fact is, the major concern is not the death rate, but the spreading and how fast it spreads. Because the faster it spreads, the more burden is on the hospital system. And when it gets to the point where, okay, now we have, let's say, the hospital can handle 100 patients, 50% of them are coronavirus situations. Now you have real medical emergencies coming into this, and they can't handle it. And so that's the real concern, the issue that they're trying to prevent. So what they're trying to do really, I think, is tone down the contact of each people passing it on and slow it to get to the point where you get to the curve. When you get to the curve, you can start to bend down towards, stabilization. And that's smart once you can do that, which is what they did in China, and that's what they did in South Korea, and that's what they're attempting to do in Italy, and that's what they're attempting to do across the world. I think personally, we're probably too late. It's going to spike.
I hate to say it, I think you're right. I think we're falling into Italy territory. I think we're slow to react to this. I don't think we knew what we were really up against. I mean, that kind of brings it to Rudy Gobert. Am I saying this? Gobert?
Yeah, from the Utah Jazz,
yeah,
their
yeah.
starting center.
So he had contacted the coronavirus after making jokes in a press conference, touching everything, messing with people's bags in the locker room. Now the NBA is shut down.
Well, all sports.
I mean, all sports are essentially shut down, but I mean, he's the ringleader of it.
Yeah.
What do you think of all the leagues shutting down? Do you think it's a good idea? I think it is a good idea, obviously, but what's your take on that?
I do think it's wise.
Yeah.
And it's not really for the fans. It's for the players themselves. They're at high risk, especially in these contact sports.
Obviously, yeah.
I think right now he's going to go down as one of those guys that we're going to remember in 20 years going, hey, remember when you didn't take something serious and then you did something? That's going to be, this guy's name is going to come up every time. And it's smart that they need to slow down sports. I think putting it on hold for now is smart, but I still think the place you're going to catch it is at work.
Yeah.
Or commuting to work. It's not going to be a sporting event. I don't think that's where it's going to happen, but you got to do something. And WrestleMania, by the way, should be canceled. I don't understand how.
We will talk about that. We will talk about that. I think large groups of people, it's a bad idea right now. I do really think that. I know a lot of independent wrestling companies are still running over this week and this weekend. CDC is saying, try to limit groups of 1,000 people, but it takes one really to spread it. I think right now, if it's something that doesn't have to happen, we don't need we'll live without sports. We love it. We'll live without it.
Right.
Will we live without wrestling? We love it. We'll live without it. We really got to contain that spread. Joe Rogan recently, and this is something I really want to talk about because he was fantastic. He had Michael Osterholm on his show. He was an American public health scientist, biosecretary in infectious disease, working for the University of Minnesota. And he really explained that we really do need to contain the spread of this. This is not going away. People think this is going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's not.
No.
We're looking at 4 to 6 months to a year.
Yep.
So, when people get mad about things getting canceled, guys, we have to get ahead of this. Will it, I honestly do think you and I are eventually going to get infected. It's going to affect 70% of the world's population. They're saying 50% of Americans. We're in New Hampshire. It's already here.
Yep.
So.
I mean, in speaking from our family, 50% of our family is in the high risk group. So.
We have friends with health concerns. Our parents are older. For people not taking this serious, please stop. Stop what you're doing and really think about it. You don't have to still be doing. Life's going to change for a little bit. You have to accept that.
Right.
You really do, and that's the only way we're going to get through this. And that's just kind of the way I look at it. Let's look at China, right? Now China's starting to get a little bit better as a whole.
Take that for a grain of salt. We don't know much about the Chinese government. Has a history of lying. They had a history of lying about this virus.
They did. Yeah.
Yes, they're saying that it's under control and that they're going to start resuming their sports leagues and things like that. But they're also an authoritative state, so they can do that stuff. So what they can do is say, you can't do this. We can shut you down right away. The United States and other countries that have freedoms don't really have that ability. Yep. If you haven't noticed, they're never going to tell you can't do something. It's always going to be a recommendation. When the Chinese government says it, it's not a recommendation. They're going to actually physically hold you to that spot. And that's something that Western civilization as a whole is going to try to figure out. Because there is going to be those wild cards that are going to say, it's never going to be me, I'm touching everything. And then you're like that guy from Utah Jazz.
He's spot on for that. There has to be a middle ground of things, and that's what we didn't get on top of. Which kind of brings us to Italy. They didn't get on top of it. 3 weeks ago, Italy is fine. And now they're in lockdown. I don't want that here. Do you? I mean, none of us do. This is cause for concern, and people just really don't want to take it serious.
Right, and I think it was bad 3 weeks ago. It's just they couldn't really report it, and they didn't know because they didn't have the testing capability, which is the same issue that the United States has. The United States does not have enough test cases to be able to test. So, will we end up as bad as it is in Italy, where they're basically shut down altogether across their whole country? I don't know, maybe major cities. Like I could see in 2 weeks, maybe Boston, New York City. If you haven't looked at a lot of these times where these cases are popping up, like the Utah Jazz person, more likely he caught in New York City or Boston. He was in both places last week.
The Celtics are quarantined right now.
Yep. The person who got confirmed when we were down in D.C. was in Boston before, and that's where they tied it back to. The person in Tennessee was in and out of the Boston airport. So it's coming back to these major hubs that are now starting to have the big issue, and they're spreading it that way. Now, I know you can't fully restrict, and I agree. It's really up to the individual to stand up and do that. And that's also why I do like how the sports world said, if the government and things like that can't do it, we will.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think eventually it will get better, but like, people, please take it serious. I mean, honestly, I didn't feel that serious about it even 2 weeks ago, a week ago, or even a couple days ago. It is. We're seeing the effects of how fast this thing can spread, and things have to change for a little bit, and it's unfortunate, but do we want to be dealing with this forever? I mean, so we're seeing, now Iran is really struggling with that, and you're talking about a government that is not honest with their people, and they're not. So now, you got people in Iran thinking that they can drink bootleg alcohol, and they're dying because they think it's some way to stop the coronavirus. It's not. No. We'll never end up in that, but like, just to say, Iran's really struggling with this. South Korea, though, they're figuring it out. Death rates are going down, the spread of it's going down, and they're doing it with testing stations.
Testing stations, and also when you go in to get tested, they're not telling you to go home and stay with your family and be quarantined. They're quarantining you. So that's also another thing that we do.
I don't know if we can do that here.
We can't. That's another thing that it's hard to get ahead of this. And like, I know some people like to compare it to the swine flu or H1N1 from 2012. It didn't spread as aggressive as this did, so it's not really even comparable to that. But to think that the United States can do what other countries can do to try to mitigate it, it's hard. It's really got to come down to the citizens really stepping up and taking ownership. And it's not going to happen in this Facebook world where we're still really divided. And it comes back to the same thing that we're divided on politics. Like, for some reason, social media in general is just making it harder.
Well, we don't. I think there's a lot of people that go, we don't have to listen to doctors. We don't have to listen to scientists. I know better. Sitting in my armchair discussing this. It gets a little frustrating at times with the people that just don't. I don't know what it is. I think it's people want to live in a false sense of security. And I'm not saying that, like we said earlier, it's not everybody's going to die from it, but you have to be responsible. I could be a carrier right now, so could you. And we don't know it, but we could pass it on to other people. So it's be responsible, don't be selfish. And for the love of God, enough with trying to blame this on media hype. I mean, we'll talk about that, but like, enough with it. This is real, it's here, and we need to deal with it.
Right. It is also hard, though, for people to take any of this serious when the last 5 years we've been talking about how the media is fake. So, it all comes back. Is this karma coming back to all of us? Maybe.
At times it feels like we deserve Trump. It's almost like, as the American people, we almost deserve him.
I wouldn't even say it was
like, why
I wouldn't even say it was Trump, because it's before Trump. I think overall, we haven't been overly great to each other when it comes to social media. We're very great to each other face to face, but people have been vicious. People are vicious online. And is it karma? Maybe.
I hope not. Governor Sununu yesterday. Now we have 6 reported cases in New Hampshire. Again. 6 reported, or I'm sorry, people that tested positive, which means we really don't know who they come in.
Presumed confirmed is the
Is
term.
that what it is?
It's presumed confirmed if the state confirms you.
Yeah.
It can only be a confirmed case if the CDC confirms you.
Okay. All right. Well, Governor Sununu, now he comes out. Now you have the state of Massachusetts is in a state of emergency. And they're trying to calm it down. And you have a governor coming out saying, continue to have your events. This is nothing. I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but basically saying, like, we got this under control. Governor Sununu, you don't know that. You don't know that.
Right. And another thing to Governor Sununu, I mean, I don't overly
He's a frustrating man.
He is a frustrating man. He just looks like one of those guys that always thinks he's right. But on top of it, the minute he said that, he goes on TV and says, you know, we should keep handling these things. And what's the first thing that happens? The Chad Police and Fire ice game gets postponed. So
they're not listening to him.
No one listens to him.
Well, he comes out and says that, and the next reports it's in someone's in Bedford has it.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, how irresponsible of a governor can he really be? I mean, he should be on top of this.
He also needs to be better than that too. On top of that, like other governors and other people are always, they're not directly saying keep going.
Yeah.
It's always like a recommendation.
Yeah.
To like slow this down. Coming out and saying that, now you got egg on your face, man. In an election year, by the way.
I honestly, you know what? I'm just not I'm not a fan, and that really did it in for me. I obviously I never really voted for him anyways, but at this point, this guy's got to go. I don't think he's not being responsible as the governor of New Hampshire to come out and do something like that.
Right, and I mean, I don't really have many things against Governor Sununu. I didn't vote for him, obviously.
Personally, no. He's just not good for his job.
But I think he has bigger aspirations anyways. I think his aspirations is Washington, D.C. and not the governorship. And I think he's just waiting for that right year to run. More than likely 2022, maybe 2024. Probably 2022 is probably the year that he probably runs when it's off year because Democrats tend to not vote in off years. And a lot of these things are going to come back up and bite him. I mean, he's the same thing with the highways, not to get on a tangent. He doesn't want to change the highways to be the mile markers, which is being asked of by the federal government, who then provides funding for those roads, right, for the highways.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't want to change it, but some of the things that he's doing can harm the state more than help the state. So.
No, I agree. And yesterday, I was floored when I saw that, and I was just I couldn't believe that he was taking that take. When you have the state right next to you reacting totally differently, and they're having issues with it, and then you say, no, just go along.
Yep. It's even in Vermont now, too, by the way.
It's in Maine as well. Governor Sununu, do better. We're going to vote you out. We are. Someone is. This is ridiculous.
Maybe. Governors, when they get voted in New Hampshire, tend to keep winning.
It's tough. I mean, we saw that in the Democrats.
They're a do-nothing governor anyways. They just veto bills. Like, I don't...
Yeah.
Like take pictures at sporting events. Like, what's the point of our governor?
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be the head of the state, but I'm not against what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now I know you really want to talk about this. We're going to talk about two things on this. WrestleMania in Tampa is not officially canceled, but we think it's going to be.
Yep.
What would it be like for WrestleMania not to happen?
We shouldn't always use the word cancel, by the way. A lot of these things are postponed, right, to a later date, or it gives them time to figure it out. Access was already canceled.
Did they officially
They officially canceled Access. The center they were going to use is not allowing the event to go on. Vince McMahon's in Tampa now. He's got a lot on his plate, by the way. The XFL hasn't canceled yet.
Defender Nation, baby.
I don't know.
Which is probably shut down.
Yeah, I don't know if they should or should. It's not up to me. But with WrestleMania, when you already have a large population coming from overseas and they can't fly here now. Yeah. Europe has a ban for 30 days. WrestleMania is under 30 days away, so you already have an international flair that can't get here. More than likely, they either cancel it from Tampa on the 5th and move it to the summer, which is what I've heard. I've heard empty arena. They're not going to do that. Not with WrestleMania. They're not going to do that with WrestleMania.
I don't know what you do. They're in a hard place right now.
This is tough for them.
I mean, Vince McMahon, I waited 19 years for the XFL to come back.
Yep.
And we're really in a pandemic when it happens,
I mean, he's dealing with the WrestleMania issue. He's dealing with the XFL issue. His stock is being hammered, by the way. They've lost $11 in market value per share over the last week and a half. There's a lot he's got to deal with, and it just seems like, well, I don't know what to do.
I wouldn't know.
You should cancel it.
If I'm the city of Tampa Bay, I'm saying you're not doing it.
But the mayor is coming out and saying that they're not.
The mayor is saying he doesn't have the authority to say that, is what I'm understanding. I don't know what you do. I would probably not have it. Try to postpone it. What do you do in the world of WWE, where you're constantly moving, this brings it back to things are going to change. Things I think for the short term, things are going to change, and that unfortunately that could be one of the things.
This initial outbreak will be bad, right? I mean, it always is when you first trying to figure this out, but eventually it'll calm down, and COVID-19 will be part of us going forward. But it's getting to this initial wave, and it's also going to teach us a lot. Like, thankfully, this is not like a end of days disease.
No,
like,
not
this
at
is the
all.
Black Plague. Like, if that was like
Not at
popped up
all.
out of nowhere, I can just tell you that the human race would be screwed if this was a more deadly virus. It's a bad spreading virus and spreads to it takes the weakest that really can't handle it. And that's the concern. But at the same time, this is a good thing that it wasn't more deadly. But it's gonna have to change people how they think and how they act, and how other countries tell people. I'm looking at you, China. Don't hide this. Going forward.
Well, I don't think you should be eating the food they eat, but I think that
It's not just that. The fact that you knew it was out
they try to hide it.
and they try to hide it.
Well, obviously, this Dr. Lee was 34 years old and he didn't make it through. So what? Why didn't he make it?
I mean, he's in. So there's a lot to that, right?
Yeah.
He is younger. We don't know his immune system, but
No, we
again,
don't.
they were overwhelmed at their hospitals without respirators and things like that. And that if you get the bad version of corona, if you get the one that the high risk one, you need a respirator to live. Like you need something. And if we overpopulate these hospitals at a certain percentage, there's just not going to be enough, and we're going to be in the situation where Italy, where they go, this person gets it, this person, you live or die.
Yeah, I hope we don't end up in that predicament. That'd be it. I'm telling you, everybody, take it serious. You know, I still see people are not. Let's have a little more fun, though.
Yep.
Because this Corona thing's a downer. We went to WrestleMania last year.
That's true.
WrestleMania 35. What was your favorite part of actually, what a year that we went, knowing that this is all going on.
No, imagine this year.
What was your favorite part of us going to WrestleMania last year?
I mean, obviously the matches and things like that, and the atmosphere were cool. I think, and you're gonna laugh. The most fun I had it was during Randy Orton and AJ Styles match with the stupid yellow light.
We couldn't see anything.
No, and the crowd just took over. You had Randy Orton looking. He's going, "What are they yelling? What are they yelling?" And we're just yelling at Vince McMahon with his stupid yellow light. So if you're looking at the camera like this, and the light was right here, and the ring's here, you couldn't see it. And the whole crowd is into it. And then when they turned it off, the whole place went crazy, and the guys in the ring had no idea why. And then the light came back on.
That was actually pretty.
It's just ridiculous.
I love just the parking lot atmosphere of that. Meeting people dressed as other wrestlers, the Right to Censor guy, the Mr. Fuji guy, people were putting their friends through tables. You know, that was quite the experience. And,
yeah. Wrestling did it before it became cool with the Buffalo Bills.
It's true. I mean, the Bills Mafia is a friend of mine. They've been always very kind to me as a Patriots fan. I know you've had your words about saying I wore one Buffalo Bills shirt, and you haven't dropped it in about 4 years. So
yes, that's true. Every time the Patriots play the Buffalo Bills, I will be sharing that picture of you with an American flag and the Buffalo Bills jersey.
For the record, that was a Drew Bledsoe Buffalo Bills jersey. I was with Jesse DeLea, good friend of mine, big Bills fan, and I was there to support my friend. So people need to stop bringing that up. I think it's run its course.
I don't think it has.
I'm a diehard Patriots fan. I always will.
I really don't think it is. I mean,
the Bills are not actually a threat to us.
There's
Never
some
have
things,
been.
though, in our lives we'll never forget. I'll never forget the drive that Tom Brady had to win Super Bowl 36. I will never forget David Ortiz's home run to force Game 5. I will never forget the whole career of Tom Brady, all these championships, the Stanley Cup, the Suck It Felger stuff, and I will never forget the day Dan Bollier wore a Buffalo Bills jersey and brought shame to the family. Shame.
This is something that's gotta, you know. I hope this runs its course of nonsense. There's no reason to hate the Buffalo Bills. We beat them all the time.
Don't hate, just don't wear their stuff.
Well, you know. So we'll move on from that. Because we actually had a really fun trip this weekend. and we went to visit our friend Tim Hogan, and we saw the DC Defenders. Did we know this would probably be the last XFL game with fans in the stadium? Probably not. But Audi Field, is that how you say it? Am I saying it wrong?
Audi Field, yeah.
Audi Field, as I'm wearing the hat, because I picked the Defenders this year. What experience that was, huh? That was a good time.
It is one of the coolest atmospheres I've ever had in sports because it didn't matter what was happening in the field. It felt like a giant party with a football game in the middle. That beer snake, man, that was a thing of beauty. I'm sitting there also going, in the world we're living in, probably not the greatest idea.
One person in that beer snake.
One Corona can.
One Corona can, or not Corona can, but one person
cup,
has
yeah.
Corona. As they're passing down these cups, then they all got it, which, we honestly, were we really focused on that over the weekend? We knew there was one case in D.C. I don't think we were all kind of taking it. Maybe none of us took this all as serious as we should have. But that was fun.
That was a blast. I mean,
I apologize. Bobby is a Battlehawks fan. I apologize for turning the fans completely against you.
That was pretty rude.
But we won.
Yeah, you defended the district.
We defended the district. We did an RKO in front of the Lincoln Memorial.
Yep.
Overall, it was a good time. Anytime we go to see Hogan, I feel like I end up laughing so much.
Yes.
Because Tim Hogan is one of the funniest people I think I've ever met.
Salt of the earth is how I would describe Tim Hogan. Tim Hogan is one of those people that everyone has in that friend group. They go, that man, salt of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, he's hilarious, and we really had a good time.
I'm glad it wasn't this weekend.
Well, if you remember, originally I think we talked about going to see the Guardians versus the Battlehawks in MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, I know. We're glad we didn't do
this
that.
weekend.
No, it's at the end of the month. It was the 28th.
Is it 20? Okay, 28th. And it's not happening.
No, it's not what I mean.
So we got really into the last one that you could possibly see, and me, Mike, Tim, Kara, and Julie got to sneak into a Wizards Heat game.
Which, by the way, the Wizards and the Utah Jazz came in contact.
Well, we didn't touch the players.
I'm just saying.
Honestly, we don't know who's carriers. We don't.
Isn't it crazy? We can't even have a small conversation about anything without having to come back to that.
It's coming back to that, and there's one thing. I'm starting a thing for the show where I kind of throw questions to Facebook. So I threw a question today, kind of a funny one. If the coronavirus pandemic was a song, what song would it be? Lauren Jackson said, "We didn't start the fire." It's kind of funny, Matt Fitzgerald said, "A Millie" by Lil Wayne. Okay. I think Brendan Johnson may have got it pretty good here. "Never Gonna Give You Up," because it ain't going anywhere.
No.
Pretty accurate. My friend Greg Kanopaka, he's going to be on the show. I can never say Greg's name. Greg, I truly do apologize. He had Iron Maiden and Run to the Hills. My pick was, isn't this ironic? Alanis Morissette, don't you think? If you were to name the song for this whole coronavirus pandemic, what would you call it?
I would just have the noise of crickets.
Yeah.
Because that's how the streets are going to look for the next, couple weeks until we get back to normal.
I agree.
I mean, as you noticed, there was no one on 95 coming home when we came back from DC. So.
Yeah, there's a lot to be concerned about, and like I said, this is it's just something we've never seen before. It's really hard to even, I was thinking, and when Trump got elected, and a lot of people, I know there's Trump supporters, and I don't want to disrespect them for having their beliefs, but we kind of knew a lot about this man and what he does and what he believes, and a lot of misinformation in general when it comes to politics and stuff like that. But when he did get elected, I said, what if we really do have a crisis? Like a 9/11. This is kind of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on the level as 9/11.
Well, it's different.
I know what you mean. It's one of those defining moments of a presidency. Every president has one, and this is technically, I guess, his. It'll teach you don't ever take credit for the stock market gains as a president. I would never do that.
Yeah, because it could be here today, gone tomorrow.
It's not even just him. The whole government as a whole, Democrat or Republican, is not really handling this well. the fact that the Senate isn't going to reconvene until the 23rd to approve the funding that the president has asked for is ridiculous.
They need to get on that.
Yeah, in the end, you're going to remember the fact that he slipped up reading off a teleprompter in his most presidential moment.
Yeah, I do have a little more I want to touch on that when it comes to President Trump. But just saying, because I don't think we've lived through something like this, you and I, or even Justin, our producer.
I don't think our fathers even lived through something like this.
Well, nothing like this, but we lived through some crazy things.
Yep.
I mean, at 9/11, I'm not saying this is 9/11. I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying things that literally made us go, oh my God.
It's basically what Obama had to do with the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
Except this, instead of greed on Wall Street, it is greed on the individual who wants to keep going around and spreading the virus.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, if you feel sick, stay at home. But also, everybody's like, just continue living your life. Well, yeah, I agree, but let's do it smartly, Just quickly, because I had it written down for this, but what's your favorite Red Sox moment? I think it's pretty obvious, but I was going to say more of this, but just on time.
Pretty obvious. What do you think it was?
04.
Yeah, 04 was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I was also in 11th grade, so cool moment, but greatest Red Sox moment for me, and will be, is that Royals game in 2013.
Oh,
when we
yes,
went to,
yes. We had a good time that day.
after the marathon bombing, and Poppy came out there and was like, this is our boob city. That was an total impulse buy. Remember, they caught the second terrorist. And I was like,
so we're buying tickets, that's it.
I called everyone, was like, what's the most American thing I can do this weekend? Be at Fenway Park.
Yep.
And then we went there. And that was just awesome. And hopefully we have that moment too with this
we bounce
virus,
back.
that we bounce back, and there's that moment of just like finally getting back to normal. That's the first time in that little window after the marathon bombing where it felt normal again. Like finally things are settled and resolved, and it's just like, let's just,
Things definitely felt weird at that point, as far as, like it does now. Where we're like, I can't believe someone attacked the Boston Marathon.
Right, and as two people who are part of the Tough Ruck that we do every
Yep.
year, which is fueled by the Boston Marathon, it hurts. Like that was Boston. That is Boston. The marathon, which it being canceled this year or postponed at this point till probably September, that hurts. Patriots Day is not going to be the same this year, and it wasn't the same in 2013 when that happened.
No, it's crazy. I think they are talking about September. It's not official yet, but the marathon probably is going to be pushed back.
It's tough though, because when it comes to the marathon, that's also when the Chicago Marathon happens and other marathons, and a lot of these people have been training.
You might lose people.
Yeah. You definitely are. You're not going to get the top athletes who can actually run this, because they have set marathons and they can't just throw it in the middle, and you're getting caught up in qualifying season.
Yeah. So. This is some, like we said before, this is something we've never, in our lifetime, we've never seen before. I don't know if there's been a pandemic like this since, obviously I don't think it will be as bad as this, but the Spanish flu or something was brought up from 1918 or something.
Yeah, the first time the flu came to the United States and it spread like wildfire this.
That was killing people at a crazy number.
Everyone keeps comparing that to that, but it was.
I don't think that we're there.
Not even just that, it was 1919.
Yeah.
The field of medical wasn't
a lot different.
It wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
I don't think we had when was the invention of penicillin, right? And by the way, that wouldn't cure a virus, you know. But I'm saying the fact that the farther we've come in medical terms from 100 years ago, it's crazy. And by the way, it spread like wildfire, and they didn't fly.
Yeah. We'll get a hold of this. I really do think, like we've said in the show earlier, it's going to take some time.
It's a good learning lesson, though, in the end, though. Once we get over that bell curve and we look back at this, we'll have a blueprint of how not to do this again, and when something more deadly comes down the road. I know, and everyone always talks about the media is always blowing up like Ebola and all these other things, and that there's always something else. There will be something that is way worse than all this combined, and hopefully this teaches the world how not to screw it up next time.
No, I think you're right. That's true, and we do use a lot of those. But as someone that lives in New Hampshire, I was never concerned about any of those other ones because they weren't here. This one got here pretty fast, like really fast, and that definitely opened my eyes up to how easy something could get to us.
Right.
We live our simple. I'm not saying we're not simple people, but here in New Hampshire we live a pretty simple life. We have good times, and we don't think about these things actually coming to us.
Right. I mean,
now we do.
We quarantined those who were caught up in the China issue and brought them back over here, and a lot of them have high medical bills, and hopefully that gets resolved with the resolution that Trump just asked for. But on that note, should we have gone back to the mainland? Who knows? Were they the ones who directly spread it? Who knows?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. It could take in one person. That's really all it takes with this thing.
Right, and that's, by the way, another point to make to any type of promotion that's running any type of show or anything like that. It takes one.
Yeah.
It takes one person, and then that's it. You'll never be forgotten.
Well, that was a big thing that I was talking about earlier with the wrestling promotions running this weekend. I love them all. I enjoy them.
Love them all.
It takes one person to show up to your show, say they have this, or not
don't
say,
even know.
I'm sorry, not say this. Say they got it there. That's where they trace it back. You're not going to have an audience moving forward. People are going to. There's going to be a fear. So honestly, I know it's smaller groups and the CDC approves it. I just don't think it's a good idea. Do what you want.
Doesn't recommend anything. It's just saying that, you're less likely.
Likely, yeah.
Which, by the way, if there's 5 people in a room and one person has it, did it matter? There was only 5 people?
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could give it to me right now. I mean, we don't know. If you had it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And we don't want to start spreading fake rumors like John Nagel was trying to do the other day, which, John, I love you, brother, but be very smart about what's going on right now. You don't want to start that. You know what I mean? Like, I know trolling is trolling, but, like, let's be smart about it right now.
Yeah.
Biden's taking over Bernie, obviously.
Yep.
You think Biden should be the candidate for the Democrats?
I do at this point. And after all this wildfire that's been going on, I don't know if it would have been a good idea to even put Bernie out there.
Really? You think Biden has it all together?
I don't think it's all together. I think he's more in the middle and not as big on spending, and people are going to be very fearful. They just pumped in $1.5 trillion from the Fed right before we came on the show to try to stabilize the economy because it's going down there. And I know some people say money is money and, like, what does it matter? And I get that, but at the same time, you have to regulate things. I just think that what Bernie has to say on certain things is right, like Medicare for all. I don't like the name Medicare for all. I just like that everyone should have the right to have it. But yeah, given the takes of what's happening, I don't know if Bernie would have been right to nominate at this point.
Well, fair enough. I thought Biden did a really good job in his address today to the nation. It made me feel a little more secure than Trump did okay last night. I mean, what did you think of Donald Trump's response to the nation last night?
I thought it was his best one yet, until I watched it the second time, and he slipped up a couple times.
We started blaming Europe for this.
Yeah, and that honestly, what people were looking for was like, where are the test cases? Where are we? How are we slowing this down? Like, what are we going to do? And he comes out with, we're going to ban travel from Europe to the United States for 30 days, which seems ridiculous at this point because it's here. What's another person coming over here?
Yep.
It just seemed like panic, but he did look the most presidential. Like, he just seemed like he tried to stay on cue.
He definitely looked presidential last night.
I think he needs to fire his writers and go back.
He sounds it, and then he starts blaming the other countries. Well, you had the authority as president to start shutting this down. My issue with him continues to be, he says one thing and does another. Weeks ago, he's calling it a hoax. Donald, it's not a hoax. People, they gravitate to this man and think he's some kind of hero, and then they'll watch this show and be like, no, you just hate Trump. No, he's not good at what he does. No. You can't say one thing, can't go to rallies saying the coronavirus is a hoax, and then come back and say, okay, I guess it's more serious. But my other problem with Trump supporters is going to be like, he never said that. No.
This video.
there's video of it, but they don't want to believe it. And that right now, we're seeing like how that can really affect a country. And people are like, well, we don't trust the media, so this isn't a big deal. Oh, it's the media. No, guys, when they report facts, you have to believe facts, and this is going to get us in trouble. It's crazy where the nation is right now. It really is. And like I said, I'm going to hear this online that you're just anti-Trump. No, that's not as simple. Like, guys, wake up.
Right, and I mean, he was actually might have been exposed.
He could have been exposed.
Trump met with a translator from Brazil, and he might have been exposed. Yeah. So it might take that moment, right? That person that we all relate to, that person we go, holy crap, that person got it. Like Tom Hanks, I felt like it might be that moment.
That was kind of crazy, yeah.
Like, you're coming after America's dad.
Yeah.
Like, that makes it feel real, right? Now it's getting closer to home. Until we start seeing people close to us actually get this, no one's going to take it serious. You know? It's the same problem that they had with the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. Ronald Reagan wouldn't say the word AIDS until someone else, I forget his name off the top of my head, the famous actor got it.
In the 80s?
In the 80s.
I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. Yeah. Until you actually know somebody, like, remember in the real world where Pedro got AIDS? And Bill Clinton came on and said, now everybody actually, because people watched the show and said everybody kind of knows somebody that did. Now we all followed Tom Hanks for a long time, so it does feel more real to people. Yep.
If he was in the United States, it wouldn't even been found. It's only because he was in Australia and they could test.
Well, again, we don't have enough. We don't know. We don't have enough testing kits.
We're not ready.
We're not ready at all. And this was, again, it comes down to, I'm not saying, the government wasn't ready, and I'm not just blaming that totally on Trump, but the fact that he was spreading fake news as he continues to spread and saying something's a hoax until it actually matters, and then he flips to the other side. That's a problem. That is a problem.
His Twitter is his problem.
You don't. Yeah, but he's doing it at rallies.
I know, but he also doesn't think. I don't think he realizes what he's doing.
Yeah.
He says Sleepy Joe's sleeping at the wheel. He might be sleeping at the Twitter feed. Like, you can't go and say things, and then you're gonna shock the market.
I just don't think he cares. I mean, if I were his, I don't understand why he wanted to be president in the first place. He'd be living on his ranch or Mar-a-Lago, the golf course.
I do think he thought he could do something for America, and I do generally believe that he thought he might be able to do something better.
I'm not saying he's pure evil, because I don't believe that.
No, I don't either, and I don't overly hate the person. Yeah. I don't like a lot of his policies, because I had a feeling when some of these would come up, it would only take a matter of time before it blew up, and it started to hurt our wallets.
Yeah.
And it is. But at the same time, when he offers a smart idea like the payroll tax, how is that not just signed?
No, they have to just do it.
Like, sometimes you just got to do what's right.
But I did have a problem that we look back and, some people say, well, it's not a big deal. He started cutting funding to the CDC. And now that we actually need it, like, what? Like, you never thought this would happen, but there's a reason that these places have funding.
Right.
Because we don't know when something like this could happen.
And that comes back to the fact you don't take credit for the market if you're the president, because short-term gains add to long-term issues. And if you start cutting things out just to make that little bump in November of 2018, you don't know what's going to come down the road or in forecasting and things like that, which will then hurt you in 2020.
Yeah,
if you're the Democrats, how do you handle the situation? You got to come out on top and start talking smart and educated, and at the same time,
I think Biden tried to do that. As he tried to make a announcement just on the thing, he started taking his digs at Trump.
Yeah.
And they weren't totally unwarranted.
Nope.
But my fear is, and anybody that goes too far on one side, people will just keep defending Trump on this.
Right.
Until it affects their life. Until they're affected, then they may start to change their tune.
Right. Because a lot of these things don't affect me and you.
But when the American people are afraid, and they're going to start to get afraid, you have all the sports canceled, there's so much misinformation. People they're going to get afraid, and they're going to turn on who's in charge.
That's usually what happens.
Unless he can make them feel not afraid. But they dropped the ball on this. They waited. And
it's not. And I wouldn't even just blame America. I would blame almost every country right now has dropped the ball on this.
Yeah.
But when Boris Johnson in the UK sounds more intelligent than you on television, Donald Trump, you might have a problem.
Yeah.
Because Boris Johnson spoke today, and I sat there and was like, after all the jokes, I go, wow, this guy doesn't sound as ridiculous. He says it's coming. He says you're not going to take it serious until it affects you. And I'm sitting there going,
And now we have to. And I think a lot of us struggle with taking it now, but that should have come from the leadership of the country, and we didn't. This is where we see where, and I'm sure people are going to disagree with this, we lacked leadership in a crisis, and it is going to only get worse, and people, we're going to be talking a lot different in 2 weeks than we are right now. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. This is going to be a long haul, and I hope the United States is ready for it. I think we can. I think we all can come together. I don't want to finger point just at Donald Trump, obviously, because we need to. He is the leader of the country.
Yep.
So we're going to have to rally around each other. It is going to be the only way that we try to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah, or it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better.
Well, I think it is going to. I think it is going to. I think that there's no question. If we've seen all the other countries how they handle it.
Yeah, and if it gets more aggressive all the way through June, I don't know what we're gonna have a year-long Corona thing, and then the flu's gonna come back. Then we're gonna be devastated by that, and then
the 20s are starting off great.
Yeah,
they're really starting off great.
It's been a decade.
Roaring 2020s, like this has not been great. We lost Kobe at the start of January, and now this,
Yeah, it's been frustrating, and then we might not even have the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
No NBA Finals.
We're missing a lot of things. It's definitely.
Golf though.
All right.
Still gonna.
I mean, so you have low crowds for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, also, golfers don't touch each other. They just,
Nope. Actually, U-Trip, which we both play.
Yep.
Softball. There's no more shaking hands.
Yep.
Maybe that's overdone.
Maybe
we should have just been dapping the whole time.
I honestly have never been a huge fan of the whole shake hands at the end, anyways.
Yeah.
Like we're adults. Like we're not disrespecting the game. Right?
Yeah, we're letting each other know that we had
we had a great game.
Feelings.
I don't want to touch you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, LeBron James got a hard time. There was one year where he didn't shake hands with people at the end of the game, but now that's going to be a thing of the past. I think we're gonna be really afraid of germs, which I've always been afraid of. If I shake your hand, I'm probably washing my hands not too far after that. But that brings us to our last segment, Bobby. Blank versus blank. It's my favorite one to do.
Sure.
Got some good ones for you. Horror or comedy?
Comedy.
Don't like the horror movies.
I don't watch horror movies.
At all.
Dan, if you watch the news, I don't need horror movies.
All right. Fair enough. Red Sox or Patriots?
Patriots.
Over the Red Sox.
The Red Sox organization has royally ticked me off.
Okay.
I know we've won 4 championships and there's no reason for me to get mad. But, I don't know, John Henry just annoys me.
Okay.
I get it, the Moneyball thing, but I'm sick of the Moneyball thing. Sometimes just pay Mookie Betts when I bought a jersey of his. To the Patriots right now.
I think a lot of people are frustrated over
Now ask me in 2 weeks if Tom Brady doesn't resign, and I'll probably to the Red Sox.
So I'll flip. All right, then Celtics or Bruins?
Bruins.
Really?
I don't really care for basketball.
Okay. All right, fair enough. You kind of lived under both administrations. A lot younger under one of them. Barack Obama, or Bill Clinton?
Oh, Obama. Bill Clinton. The things Bill Clinton did.
Scumbag. Yeah.
Not just that, but some of the things that his policies happened under him have royally screwed us. Like the reason we have Comcast is because of Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
The reason some of the things happened in the financial crisis is because of Bill Clinton and George Bush. So,
yeah.
Obama, I mean, I liked the time period. We'll see. Time will tell. But 10 years after Bill Clinton, we're still seeing issues that he had done. So.
Yeah, he wasn't perfect. He got a lot of credit that I thought he didn't always totally deserve. But I guess that's the way sometimes it goes with the Clintons. playing for the Raccoons or playing for the Kill Crew?
Raccoons.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, I love Mike Lamonde still.
mean,
But
3 championships.
Benny is probably the best coach I've ever played for.
Benny has probably treated me the best out of any person I've ever had to deal with in softball, and I will always respect him for that.
The amount that he's put into the team, when we win, he buys us nice things, and he's just a very giving individual. Gives us great beers.
Yeah, once again, salt of the earth is how I describe Benny.
I'm a big fan of Benny.
I'll be sad after the season at the end.
Yeah, if we even get to play, we don't even know at this point.
That is true.
It's definitely up in the air. I've heard rumors of softball leagues possibly not happening. I don't know that for sure, but Godfather or Goodfellas?
Goodfellas, if we're talking about the whole Godfellas series. Godfather, if it's just Godfather 1 and 2.
So if I put all right, so say we said Godfather 2 versus Goodfellas, what would you pick?
Goodfellas.
Godfather 1 against Goodfellas.
Godfather.
Okay. Yeah, that's a hard one for me too.
I didn't really like the background story in the Michael situation in Godfather 2. But
yeah, I mean Godfather 3 is kind of a waste.
Didn't happen in my life.
Never happened. Goodfellas I could just watch over and over and over. What a great movie. Unbelievable. Toughest question for you to answer. And I hope your girlfriend Victoria is watching this. Roger or Terry? So Bobby has a dog named Roger that he really loves. He's also got a cat that he's had for many years named Terry. If you had to choose one, who do you like better?
Roger.
Just like that.
Jax was my cat. He passed away, unfortunately.
Yep.
Terry was always technically second field to him.
Okay.
Roger for days.
Roger is a lot of fun. I really love Roger. I do really love Terry, too, when you guys have me babysit him time to time. Great cat sitter.
Yeah.
Apparently. Anyways, that's going to do it for this week on Let Freedom Ring. We will get Jesse Martineau on an episode. There's talk of doing that in another location, maybe in Quebec at some point. We don't know. But other than that, everybody stay safe, be smart, and really think about what you're doing. And hopefully, we'll see you next week. Until then, let freedom ring.